The Michigan Wolverines, it was incredible. Left no doubt Saturday when they left the shoe. They outplayed, had a better plan, absolutely dominated Ohio State. Our Dennis Dodd calling them grittier and tougher. Michigan winning at Ohio State for the first time since 2000. That was also the last time they won back-to-back games versus the Buckeyes, which now they have also done. Taking a look at Dennis Dodd's latest power rankings, well, Georgia still remains number one after their win against Georgia Tech. Michigan jumping up 2 spots to number 2, leaving Ohio State to drop down to number 5, most likely out of the top 4 in the playoff rankings as well. Other major fireworks over the weekend. USC rolling over Notre Dame, putting them firmly in the playoff picture, up to number 4 in Dennis Dodd's power rankings. And TCU still number 3 after they destroyed Iowa State and now getting ready for the Big 12 championship against Kansas State. So let's welcome in the guy behind the power rankings, our good friend Dennis Dodd here. Michigan up 2 spots to number 2 in your power rankings. The last time Michigan, thanks to your article, I now know this, went 12-0 was 1997. That was also the last time they won the Natty. What was your biggest takeaway from the Wolverines, a team a lot of people assumed were going to lose on Saturday?
Well, number one, maybe not number one, but significant high in the conversation is the fact that Ryan Day is on some sort of hot seat at Ohio State. Not going to be fired, forget about that, but the seat is getting warm. 45-5 in 4 years. His only 2 Big Ten losses are to Michigan, and that's really the conversation, that he hasn't beaten Michigan in the last 2 years. The last time this happened, Michigan winning in consecutive seasons, was 2000, and John Cooper lost a job, but that was after 13 tries at Michigan. So I think next year is a key year for Ryan Day. Number 2, Michigan walked into the shoe, and as you mentioned, was grittier, tougher, and I would say looser than their opponents on the other side. They took their time. They fell behind 10-3, were behind 20-17, and completely getting stuffed in the run game, and then just let it fly. J.J. McCarthy threw passes that he never threw in the regular season. Michigan came into this game, Amanda, with 1 gain in the aerial game of over 50 yards. In the span of 2 minutes, he threw a 69-yard pass for a touchdown and a 79-yard pass for a touchdown. 75. And Michigan on the day had 5 gains of over 45 yards. So they were completely out of character, then got the run game going, held to 9 yards in the first half, 243 in the second half, and Donovan Edwards exploded. So there's a lot of soul searching at Ohio State, and the Michigan way of life in football is just smash them in the mouth. There's something to be said for that right now.
Absolutely. So we knew, Dennis, between these two teams, whichever one lost, because they were right there in the playoff rankings, they were going to have a tough time making it in. So Ohio State down to number 5 in your playoff rankings. They are not technically out of the college football playoff picture yet, but Dennis, you're hinging a lot of that on USC needing to lose this weekend against Utah.
Yeah, on Saturday, Amanda, as I was writing the column, I completely wrote them off, witnessing what I just told you, not only the loss, but, the expanse of the loss by 22 points, the most since 1976, most points scored by Michigan in the rivalry since 1946. I said, there's no way. But then I started to look around the landscape. It's, well, wait a minute now. USC won. If they lose, that's their second loss. If TCU and USC lose, is Ohio State, is there room for Ohio State in the top 4? And I think the answer is yes. And I'm not saying it's going to happen because Ohio State's season is done. That's the biggest drawback they have. The last impression they left with the committee is everything I just mentioned, a bad loss at home. But if USC's sitting there with 2 losses in a conference that now is not rated as high, obviously, as the Big Ten, is that enough for a team that didn't win its division in the Big Ten to play for a national championship? And I think there'd be a lot of consternation on the West Coast and a lot of hope in Columbus having all this pass and let it digest a little bit that they do have a chance, yes.
It was a wild weekend. It will be a wild championship weekend as well. Dennis, I had a friend text me over the weekend. Now, granted, with a grain of salt, this is a Big 12 person. They said, is TCU really going to make it to the national championship? Multiple people assuming, and including some of our analysts back when they were 8-0, saying, look, they're going to drop a game at some point. They haven't done it yet. They're hosting Kansas City for the Big 12 championship. They're a 2.5-point favorite. Are we looking at potentially TCU winning the Big 12 outright for the very first time?
Yeah, I'm with Jerry. I don't think there's a scenario, maybe if Kansas State blows them out, but I don't think there's a scenario where the top three in the CFP lose their spots in the playoff. I think TCU has more than proven itself. They've already beaten Kansas State once by 10, 38-28 in a game they lost 28-10. Now, to your question, yeah, Kansas State's got a heck of a chance. They've closed with what, 4 or 5 straight wins. With Will Howard, the backup quarterback, they're better than they've ever been. They've got weapons all over the field. So yeah, I think they've got a chance to win. But I also think this is a team of destiny for TCU in that if they lose, it would have to be a close game, obviously, at home in the Jerry World, effectively in Dallas, that they wouldn't drop out. But I think they've shown everything. If this was another team in another league, I think they'd be credited for playing a lot of games close. I think they'd be credited for coming from behind in games. Ohio State was the darling of the nation in 2002, and they won half their games by a touchdown or less. We called them the Luckeyes. Well, not so much with the Frogs. They've proven it. They can win it both ways. They blew out Iowa State. They won a defensive battle on the road at Texas, have come from behind at least 4 times that I know of this year. I think they're a very complete team.
A lot of purple in that Big 12 title game there, but TCU maybe 25 miles away from Jerry World. That's about it. Let's talk about this, Dennis. Did Caleb Williams lock up the Heisman on Saturday? Because the front runner was C.J. Stroud, and that's not looking like it anymore.
Yeah, I think the only reason he doesn't win it right now, Amanda, is if God forbid, he gets injured in that game against Utah, or Utah wins, sowing seeds of doubt in voters' minds 2 days before they have to have their ballots in. But I think in broad body of work, look, C.J. Stroud, again, his season is over. The lasting image of him is losing to Michigan. Blake Corum didn't play, has effectively not played at all the last 2 games except for a few snaps. And so it's left up to Caleb Williams, who's become, in many ways, a one-man team for USC. You see him run around back there. I don't think that offensive line is great. They're good, but they're not great, and they're getting it done. They're getting the running game going, and now Caleb Williams is almost like a Patrick Mahomes, where he will make plays, wait to the last second to let it go. He's obviously a team leader. You can see that. And with 4 more touchdowns accounted for Saturday against Notre Dame, he now has 44 on the season. And at the end of the day, Amanda, in any year, at any time, I like the USC quarterback's chances of being in the Heisman mix. How about that? I think he's got a heck of a chance.
If only he was still at Oklahoma, this would be a much different story. That's not the case anymore. Dennis Dodd, we appreciate it. Check out Dennis's full power rankings on CBSSports.com. Taking you through the rest of his list here. Our producer wants to do this, I'm pretty sure, just because he went to Florida State. Congratulations, Florida State up 3 spots to number 15 after their 45-38 win over Florida. Go Noles here. Taking a look at the rest of Dennis Dodd's power rankings. There they are, new. We're looking at, yes, 21 through 25 there. Oregon State, Notre Dame, UTSA, their Conference USA Championship match against North Texas, Christopher.
Yes.
This weekend, that'll be fun to watch.
Yep.
Cincinnati wrapping up 25.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.